there's these cases that get so much news time because it's extreme, right? You know, the fact that these people died from gaming, okay, cool, but that's 17 out of how many gamers around the world, right? So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, because of the fact that this was something that, you know, how could you die from gaming, right? It makes such a big kind of, a statement that people want to use, right? But they forget the reality of that everyone else plays games as well too. It's just that you're focusing on the extreme situation right now.
I think one thing too I want to add into that, sorry, is that so back in the day, notoriously, especially late '90s, early 2000s, there was a narrative of violent video games produce violent children and violent
Oh
people.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember that when
GTA 4 came out.
when
Yep,
GTA
definitely
4
when
came out.
GTA.
Oh,
And wasn't it all about like talking about how like school shootings were perpetuated?
Yes, yeah.
And
I
then
remember
studies
that one.
correlated nothing.
Nothing at all. And what really made me upset was the Virginia Tech shooting.
Yeah.
They found on the shooter's computer that he mapped out his school in Counter-Strike, and then that added more fuel to the fire
There
to
you
this whole
go.
narrative.
I actually did not know that. That's wild.
That's crazy
Yeah,
though.
it's
He
wild.
created a.
But see, tool. It's a tool, man.
It's a tool.
He just used it as a tool,
Exactly.
right?
So, okay, if I'm the World Health Organization and I'm seeing that a kid is mapping out his high school in Counter-Strike only to
That's wild.
One of the
I did
most
not know that.
to cause like the landmark shooting of like, was it the 90s or early 2000s? I forgot. Was it the 90s?
It was the 2000s.
2000.
Like,
Jesus
like
Christ.
if I see that, if I'm seeing kids dying from strokes because of overgaming, I might do some research.
Exactly.
So,
right?
so it's like, so I'm playing on the other side of the fence to kind of say, hey, like I'm turning 30, as someone I'm growing up into like a boring grown up that does like video games, I also that will be like, no, I'm like, if there's anyone in the room that is that guy, it's gonna be right. So I do have a certain level of apprehension when I say, hey, yeah, like I think we do need to look into this. Yes, I think we should, like, gaming is positive, but like looking into the social harms of gaming, the mental of gaming. I think there's things that are happening with gaming that are deeply concerning, and no one has ever like mapped out a shooting from combing their hair. And so I feel like when people are doing things like that with tools, and combing your hair is a tool, I'm just using the tool analogy. If this could use to map out like a school shooting, like there's concern there, and to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm thinking about young kids playing a bunch of shooting games, I have concern. Like I'm not totally like, oh
yeah, no, for sure.
They're totally not gonna like feel like, recreating some of these things, or they're totally,
I gotta double tap this nigga at school. Seriously. He's been annoying me for too long. Like
kind of thing.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
Well, that's the immaturity of the mind there, right? Like it's the disconnect that they're not able to have, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's like,
and that's the really bad thing, because again, I'll use myself as an example. Someone who's been playing games since I was like 6 or whatever, right?
Right.
Growing up, I knew that, from my parents telling me as well, like, this is the real world. You're playing a game. What happens in the game is in the game and only in the game. Right. That being said, I played Mortal Kombat, Grand Theft Auto, Halo, Unreal Tournament, Streets of Rage, another violent game, and then getting into when I was older, playing games like Fatal Frame, Silent Hill, and more like horror type games. But I knew that this is the gaming world, this is the real world. Right. And once I turn off the game, I'm back in the real world. Mm-hmm. But without having that like formal training from your parents and having understanding that there is two different things and they're not meshed together.
Yeah.
That's what's missing in a lot. And again, I'm not gonna blame every parent in the world for these heinous crimes that are happening.
Yeah.
Especially in Virginia Tech, but at the same time, it's like it has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Because like right now, my sister doesn't want my niece and nephew playing games. They're 5 and 4.
Right.
Because she wants to be able to make sure they understand that these games aren't real.
Right.
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 Yeah. Makes sense.
I hear that. Okay, so just like the very wait, Mike, go your point.
Oh. Sorry, I just wanted to add real quick. I think the difference with video games though is with video games, It's really easy to get sucked in. Like you're playing a game, you could be playing a new game, which is pretty fun. It's very pleasurable. You're seeing a character, you're having a new experience, and you're not really putting a lot of energy into it. Anybody who plays sports, like let's say for example, you enjoy playing soccer. You could play soccer, but at a certain point you're gonna stop. You get tired. You're like, okay, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna get something to eat. I'm gonna do something else, right? But in video games, especially when something's new, um, it's easy just to slip into it. And I think video games also, like the end game and things have changed over the years. When I was a kid, I used to play video games. I'd play a video game if there was more to it. I remember there used to be, I think there was a magazine called, I don't know if it was like Game Pro or
yeah, Game Pro, Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Yeah, and I remember it was online. You'd go on and look at forums and you look at guides. But now it's games where there's like raids and like I play a lot of Destiny, and when a new Destiny raid comes out, a lot of people are trying to be world's first with their squad, and there'll be people like they want to get that title so bad. They're playing like 20 hours straight.
Yep.
They're playing 23 hours because they want to be world's first, right? Yeah. And nowadays, because everybody wants to get that new item, they want to be the first to do something. They don't want to feel left out. They don't want to feel behind. It's almost like they're trying to keep up with that community. Even myself, I was looking at my game time. I think it was for Destiny 1, and I had 40 days of playing time in that game. And I was just like, man, I didn't feel like 40 days, but like looking back, there's days where I just spent hours and hours playing the video game, right? And nowadays, everything with technology, everything goes quick and people are less satisfied. Before, with music, right? You hear a great album from an artist, you'd be like, wow, you'd ride around with that album for maybe a year, 2 years, and if you had a couple great albums, man, like you were happy with that. Nowadays, as soon as a great project comes up, people are like, all right, cool. Next week, like, where's the next one?
Right.
Where's the next one? Like, people don't even digest things anymore.
They don't even,
They don't slow down.
There's no appreciation for it.
Exactly. And in video games, like, there's always, I feel like the consumer, there's always a big demand on the developer. They're like, okay, I did this. I played through all the content. What's next? What's next? Like, where's the end? I paid for the expansion. Like, when's the content coming out? And it's like, wow, we just gave you 40 hours of content. Like, you want more?
I'm so triggered by that.
I'm triggered for you. Trust me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The self-satisfaction thing is actually another thing that is mimicked in so many platforms, but in video games I feel like it's not noticed enough because, like Mike said, you get slipped into it, you won't even realize. And then it brings that kind of like there's a lot of people who are entitled as well when they go into that. They'll slip into a game, they'll think it's amazing and stuff, but because they paid out of their own pockets, they expect more, they expect better. I get it. If you buy something as a consumer, you have your rights to complain if something's wrong, right? But there's a difference between that and excessively doing it within a community, especially when it's groups of people, not just one. So there's many Q&A employees and especially many dev employees in general. They have a hard time, especially when PR isn't necessarily on top of like community outreach, because that's not the dev's job, right? Everyone has their own job. So it's even harder when people start to make these complaints and attack PR without realizing that might have been the executive decisions, not the devs, not the PR whatsoever. So people don't even understand the time and effort that's put into these games. So it's unfortunate. Like, I haven't bought Resident Evil 3 or 2. I still have to get them, but I'm going through my games when I can because I appreciate the shit out of them. That's the thing. As a designer and as a player. So like it's one thing that's for me, at least I understand that, but there's many people who are like, I passed this game, I'm on to the next one. That's good, you got the time for it, that's good. When there's people saying I passed this game, I want more, and like you're just talking about a constant, that's a different story.
I hear you. Okay, Yo, so I told Kirsten we'd be done at 8, but I'm Jamaican, so he knew that was a lie. I'm trying to at least like respect that a little bit. So what?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'll just add some finishing sound bites for everybody, and then we'll like call it. So like just on the topic around gaming, good or bad, positive or negative, mental health, anything, consumer stuff, anything. What do you think? And then we'll probably call it.
I'll start from now then. So more than anything, one thing that me and my friends in the community in the industry like always try to let people know is that as developers, we're people. Mm-hmm. So whether you love the game, hate the game, indifferent about the game, just know that we put like years of our time into it. Mm-hmm. So don't go on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and bitch about, oh yeah, there's a texture popping here and this game's trash and this narrative is stupid and I would never play this game. Just respect it for what it is. And again, we're just people.
Right. I feel that.
As someone who is trying to get into that field as well, and someone who's a consumer of it, everyone does have their opinions, and I completely understand it, especially as a consumer. But as Kristen said, there's a time and a place where your complaints matter and where it just seems excessive. Especially if, let's say, a company does release a bad game, it might be one bad game. They might release 10 great games afterwards, right? So people sometimes just need to understand that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I agree with everything what everybody was saying here. I think Kristen like made a great point. People spend a lot of the time and they put their heart and soul into like a lot of the work they put out there. And I think it just made me think, even with like this current pandemic. And I think when people are working very hard, sometimes we just take people for granted. Like him saying that, I'm just thinking about like grocery store workers or people in the healthcare community. And like, people work so many hours, to put forth a great game. And then for some people just to play it once or, and then already have immediate opinions, I think that's extremely unfair. And, people for all the work they've put into it, you can't come and I don't think it's right for somebody just to come and give like a couple words or a quick critique on what they think. I don't think that's very necessary.
And then I'll just add one more thing that that really bugs me. So I'm not really big into playing a game based off the review off like IGN or Kotaku or whatever. So to those people out there who are interested in gaming or want to play games, go play what you like. Don't let an outside source dictate what you want to play.
Yeah.
And I say that because there's been games, I'll put, for example, like Mass Effect Andromeda, which has been reviewed horribly, and people shit on that game from front to back. But I logged 70 hours in it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Because I enjoy the game, I like the franchise. So don't let other people's opinions kind of block you from playing whatever game you think you might like.
I feel that. Well, yeah, no, thank you, Kirsten, for like actually lobbing up and hitting this topic. Like, really, really good with like just the article and everything. We got into it. We could keep, because really the reality is gaming is like the future of commerce. Digital art, like the future of education. Like, there's so much that like game designers are building that they don't even realize. It's even like augmented reality for the purpose of education. Like, that's going to be a thing. And so, like, I think it's just like an amazing industry that I don't think has been like, I don't think culture knows how it's going to be in the future. And I hope that you, sir, get your Berettas from like your skills that are going to be used to kind of build the new world. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to pull up. Thank you everyone else too for coming every week to talk about things. The Quarantakes episode 6, boom, Fawad. Cancel the ting. All right, bye everyone. Peace.